So now what I would like to do to basically to really get the most out of this, I have been reflecting for the last couple of days in like, what is one, besides like the work that we're going to do, what is one essential paradigm shift that I can transfer onto you that can radically transform your entire life? Like, what is that one essential key piece? And when we think about it, it really is being able to bring yourself into present awareness. So what I mean by that is, when you're going through life and you're walking around, you're doing your work, you're communicating with the people around you that you love, your friends, family, colleagues, other coaching members like this, do you find that your mind, when you're actually performing those activities, that so much of your mind can just go onto autopilot and basically perform the routine way of operating, and you basically just kind of cruise through things based on the automation system in your mind? Now, the problem with this is that by putting your mind on autopilot when going through life, yes, it conserves energy, but what happens is you fail to set the intent for what you want to achieve in every interaction that you have. And you fail to channel your desire into accomplishing what you want. So the two key important things in approaching every interaction in your life, whether it be on this coaching call or this workshop, whether it be speaking with your partner, whether it be communicating with friends or family, whether it be like, communicating with the person who's like processing your groceries, or whether you're trying to like pursue a new partner, like all of these things, they tie back into two things. So it's like, what is the intention that you've set for yourself when going into this interaction? Because whatever intention that you consciously set, not unconsciously, consciously, which means you have to surrender into the present moment. Like, think about that for a moment. Right now on this call, even, there are going to be some of you who are just listening in on automation. You're on autopilot. Can you feel your awareness kind of like increase into the moment now? It's like kind of like taking your mind out of the conditioning and the matrix. It's like, hang on, yeah, let's take a step back. Like, what is my deepest core intent with what I'm doing here right now? Why am I doing this? And this is just one small example, but when we do this, and when you ask why, when you set an intention behind every fucking interaction that you have, you transform your life and you gain superpowers, because your ability to achieve what you want in life is down to your ability to channel and focus your energy into something. Now, when you are performing a task or having a conversation, if half of your mind is offline, thinking about other shit, going through the motions, not consciously bringing all of your awareness and attention into one single point, one single focus, you're not going to really get anything out of it, are you? Because your focus and attention is diversified, it's spread everywhere. And that's when you fall out of love with life, because we lose connection with every interaction that we have. And we know that consciousness and energy form the foundation of the universe, right? And I'm not going to get too deep into this principle right now. You can go back and listen to my other stuff that I've like put out there to really harness this concept more. But what we need to do is bring our full consciousness online and our full capacity of energy, to channel our energy to enhance our consciousness, to increase our focus, to achieve the result we want. Because when we direct our focus into what we're doing with intention and desire to back it up, the fire that fuels it, the energy that fuels it, our mind operates and attracts things to us in the quantum realm, in the higher realms. Because thoughts create things, right? Whatever, we get what we focus on. So know that in your current level of awareness, you may think you're focusing right now, but how focused are you? How presently aware are you? How open is your heart to absorbing and integrating this information that I'm like sending you into your body and your mind? Because to learn and to truly awaken your full capacity and potential, you have to absorb and integrate the information in your body and mind. You have to feel the information as well as intellectualizing it. Because when you sync up and absorb the feeling of the words that I am saying right now, when you start to connect to the frequency and surrender in and align yourself with the frequency of the moment, then things become in tune. They become harmonious. You tap into flow states, because you can't tap into flow if your mind is elsewhere. That is the definition of flow, is being able to channel and practice the channeling of your focus into one single point. So I want you to think about that. And one exercise, basically the reason I'm saying this is it's not just about this workshop. It's about the way you approach every single thing you do in your entire life. How much intention do you have behind what you do? Okay, so there's an exercise that we'll start with. Now let's share this up. All right, one moment. Also, two quotes that I hope you've reflected on is that the dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate for the stormy present and future. As our circumstances are anew, we must think anew and act anew. So the reason why I wanted you to reflect on this is for you to interpret and integrate yourself. What new ways of thinking do you need to be open to, and do you need to adopt to allow you to take different action to get what you want in life? And another thing I want to frame before we get into any of the work today is, if you truly want to succeed in life and business, you first must be willing to break all the rules. There is no nobility in remaining bound by the very limitations and rules created by those who seek to keep you dependent upon a system in which they created. It's time to stop seeking permission from others and start marching to the beat of your own drum. So what this is really implying is, how in tune are you with the intention that you're setting in every interaction that you have? Because when you set intention behind everything you do, you're not going to keep on doing things that you don't want to do, because it's not going to make sense. It's going to be disharmonious. It's not going to be vibrating at your frequency. And when you come into interactions like that, then it's about you creating your own reality for what you want to create. And that is the power of intention and purpose. Because when you have an intention and you have a clear purpose, people mold to your reality that you create. Because when you are creating your reality with a strong intention for what you want to accomplish, people, in order to come into your bubble, in your energetic field, they have to morph to what you want. And it's not about manipulation. It's just about having such a strong intention with a strong desire that cannot be matched by anyone else, because whoever has the strongest intent and desire to back it up is going to achieve what they want in any situation, because they are deeply connected to the why. Now, the thing that I would like and recommend that you start practicing, at least doing once a day, and just picking a situation that you can apply this around, because this, when you get good at it, you will basically do it, like you'll be able to start doing it automatically in a way where it'll just compute in your mind and you'll see all of the things connected. But let's go through the worksheet. So what I want you to do is, for this worksheet that we're about to do, I want you to do it with the intention of how you're going to apply yourself in this workshop, just to get used to the exercise. And then I highly recommend starting to do it in other situations in your life where you really want to enhance your intention and focus behind the situation that you're in. So let's get started. So for this workshop, let's begin with intention. Now, this is basically the framework. So essentially the way this works is that, first of all, you have to have an overall intention for what you want to do. Then you need to get clear on the purpose behind that thing. Like, what is the overarching purpose of why you're doing what you're doing? And then what is the identity that you need to align with? Like, what is the personal identity and characteristics that you need to align with in order to fulfill and achieve that purpose? For example, if you want to achieve big things in life and grow a really big, impactful business, if you have the identity of a lazy slob, it's very highly unlikely that you're going to achieve the purpose that you've set for yourself. So this is all about creating total vertically stacked alignment. And the more aligned you are, the more channeled your focus will be. And the stronger your intention will be, because you have total alignment. When you stack all of these things on top of each other, that is how you achieve the greatest results in every interaction, because your ability to achieve your future goals and desires is determined by your energetic state and your level of consciousness and focus and intention in every interaction. Because it's in the sum of each and every interaction that you have in the daily life that you live that contributes to your goal, right? So the greater consciousness, the greater energy, and the greater attention that we have behind everything we do, we honestly rise beyond any capacity that you previously thought you could. And then the next one is like, all right, well, what are the beliefs and values that I need to embody to align with the identity that I need to adopt and embrace to achieve the purpose that I want? Then what are the core underlying attitudes that I need to hold about this situation and about myself in order to have and maintain these strong beliefs and values that aligns with my identity and purpose? Then by basically with the attitudes that I set, the attitude in which I hold will determine the behaviors that I execute on, because whatever I believe and whatever attitude I have and the identity that I hold in the moment will determine what action I take. If I am full of certainty, conviction, and personal power, I'm going to take more bold action and do bigger things in each interaction than if I have limiting beliefs and if I'm questioning myself and I'm paralyzed in uncertainty. And then what is the optimal environment that you want to create? So let's go through each one of these. The first question that I want you to basically get clear on is, what energetic state do you want to fully embody? So I was doing this myself, and I'll show you my answers for this workshop to give you an idea of how it works as well. But the intention, my personal intention was like, what energetic state do I want to fully embody when running this workshop? So for you, it would be, what energetic state do I want to fully embody when participating in this workshop? Because your energetic state will dictate everything else. Because energy is directly correlated with consciousness. And consciousness is basically another term for your wisdom and intelligence. And the greater intelligence that you have in each interaction, you'll have greater perspective and perception of what's going on. So you will have greater innovation and creativity and more energy when in that interaction. But the default of, and the easiest thing that you can do to enhance your level of awareness, creativity, and consciousness is to maximize your energy, enhance your energetic vibration. So then before we get into each interaction, it's like, well, what is the energy I want to hold? when I am participating in this thing or in this interaction, because my energetic state will dictate everything else. So I'll give you an example of what I said. For me, my personal energetic state is, and this is more so for me to enhance my own personal power and certainty in myself to achieve the outcome that I desire. So for me, the three key states are power, wise, and inspirational. Because if I hold strong power, then I will basically enhance the belief in yourself that you can accomplish what you want to accomplish and that you can achieve the goals and desires that you have for this workshop. Wise, it's like, this reminds me to connect to my heart, because it is through the heart in which I access greater wisdom. And I know that in this reality, I am merely a vessel or a channel. Like, I'm not the guru here. It's like, I am just connecting with my heart and allowing to flow what will flow. Because when I do that, I know that certain things will stick for each and every one of you at the right time. And then the inspirational part, it's like, we want to be able to inspire each other to a better future. We want to inspire us to think bigger, to go bigger, to achieve things that we haven't yet given ourselves permission to achieve. And then I also like have an intention for you. Like, what do I want you to feel by the end of the workshop? What energetic states do I want you to adopt to help you get the result you want in your life? So see how you can apply that. You can honestly, just from this quick snapshot, you can begin to apply this methodology and use this as a tool with everything that you do for yourself and others. So it's like, when you're going into things, what is the frame that you want to hold personally? And what is the intention that you want to set for the other people involved? Because when you do that, you get clear, you get focused. You align all your powers into one direction, into one singular focus. So I want you to, basically feel inspired. I want you to achieve clarity. I want you to achieve certainty. I want you to feel alive and passionate, because if I can get you feeling those things, I don't need to teach you the how to do everything. I need to connect you to your deepest why and the purpose and the intention behind what you do. Because when you do that, you'll be able to access the answers that you need. It's not about giving you a fish. It's about teaching you how to fish and use your own energetic and mental states to achieve what you want in life. So then, has everyone written down at least 3 energetic states that they want to be able to adopt throughout this workshop? If not, get it done. Next is your purpose. So in life, when going through your interactions, you obviously, this is why it's so important to have a really clear purpose of your overall life and why you're here. Because when you have that bigger purpose, you can then become very clear on what your smaller purpose is in every interaction, because your intent needs to be backed up by a deeper inferno of your purpose. Because it's not just enough to be going into each interaction curious about something or a little bit, passionate. You've got to have basically, like I've mentioned this before, it's about taking the flame of curiosity and passion and turning it into the rocket fuel of purpose. And the rocket, getting clear on your purpose in each interaction, gives you greater energy. It allows you to access more resources, to have more mental and emotional tools at your disposal that you can use to influence and create the reality you desire in this now moment. So, what is the one unifying purpose of this workshop for you, and why? How does it fit into the greater context of your deepest purpose and mission in life? Now, if you don't know your deepest purpose and mission in life, that's okay. But I want you to get clear on what you want and then write down the purpose that you have for this workshop. Because when you get clear on it, you will achieve it. This is about creating the roadmap for yourself. And obviously in this workshop, we're going to be creating the big roadmap like the big motherfucker, the big long-term vision, and breaking that down. But we've also got to create the roadmap for today to achieve that. We must create a roadmap each and every day of our life. Because if we wake up and just go into the flow, that's how we get lost. That's how we get programmed. That's how we get sucked into the societal conditioning. Because there are so many people, there are so many energies out there that are trying to pull us back. But when we're creating something new, when we're innovating to create a new reality for ourselves, we have to use every tool at our disposal to build momentum, to break through. Because without the energy to like break through, we're going to always be bound. We're always going to have limitations on ourselves. So I hope you got clear on that. I'll show you my purpose for this is to inspire new ways of thinking for how you perceive and approach life. Because the quality of our life is determined by the quality in which we think and the level at which we think. Because when we think better, when we think clearer, we come up with better ideas. And ideas are what change our life and change the world when we apply them and take action on them. But it all starts with the idea. We've got to allow that idea to basically manifest so then we can take action on it. And then it's also to inspire you to think bigger and equip you with the personal power, certainty, and conviction to take massive and consistent action in the pursuit of your dreams. So that is the purpose. Then, what is the identity in which you will embody and immerse into fully during this workshop to bring you total energy, power, and certainty and conviction to achieve the result you want? So my personal identity, just to give you a reference, and the frame that I am holding for myself is that I'm embodying the identity and envisioning a wise teacher. And that, for me, helps me immerse into the energetic state that I need to. But what is the identity that you need to hold for yourself? Okay, let's move on to beliefs. So, what are the beliefs and values that you must uphold to embody your desired identity? Because your ability to hold a certain identity is based on the beliefs in which you adopt, and ensure you maintain your desired attitude throughout the entire workshop. Here are a few examples for myself. So my beliefs that I am holding for this workshop: I'm the master creator of my own reality. I'm a master at connecting to my heart, bringing myself into the present moment, which allows me to control the energetic state of all of those in my space. Because your ability to achieve what you want in every situation is about the frame and the container in which you set in that interaction. Are you holding a strong frame in the interactions and the daily things that you're doing in your life, where if people come into your bubble, they're in your world? Or when you're going through life, are your emotional and mental states easily absorbed by others? Do you just surrender to whatever they want to do? Do you surrender into their suggestions and their perceptions of the world? And it's okay to do that if that's your intention. But if your intention is to hold a really strong and stable space around yourself, then you need to hold these beliefs. Values. The values that are aligned with these beliefs and my identity and the attitude I want to hold is the thing that I get out of this. The reason I love doing what I'm doing is because it leads me towards the path of mastery. I value and embody love, and I value creating an impact. So what are the values that this is for you? What values are you holding today to achieve the result you want? Is it growth? Is it learning? Is it expansion? Is it mastery yourself? Write those down. Then the next one, what are the underlying attitudes in which you will approach this workshop to ensure that you execute on the desired behavior that you need to? So for like, what will you be seeing in your mind's eye? What am I going to be feeling? What is my desire? So once again, when we're going through things in life, it's easy to just get caught up. But when we have greater perspective, when we're executing and doing things, when we can remove ourselves from our emotions, when we can like kind of sit up as a third-party observer and think about, well, if I'm down there on my laptop learning right now, what attitudes do I need to embody to ensure that I hold these strong beliefs and values and that I continue to align with them, and that also gives me the energy and the mindsets to execute on the behaviors that I need to in this workshop. And I'll show you how that's connected in a moment. So for example, here are my attitudes. Here's what I envision in my mind's eye when in this interaction. And by the way, I read through this entire document to remind myself of the intention that I was setting and the attitudes that I was going to hold throughout this workshop before we got started. Because you get what you focus on. I see my students in the zone, connected in the conversation and immersed in the work. I see my students expanding their consciousness and radically enhancing their awareness. I see my students becoming addicted to the thought and feeling of fully activating themselves to fully come alive. I trust in the divine and my ability to be used as a vessel for my students to receive and integrate the necessary light codes and messages that will serve them to the highest degree in taking their next steps in pursuing the life that they desire, bringing them into closer alignment to their deepest truth and divine purpose. And isn't it funny? This was my intention before we even got on the call. And what did everyone say that they wanted to achieve in this workshop? It's alignment. You create alignment when you get intentional behind everything you do. So I hope that you're writing your attitudes down. I'll give you one more moment. Now, behaviors. What are the behaviors I will execute before, during, and after this workshop to create the most optimal environment for myself and students? Because at the end of the day, it's about the environmental setting that you want to create for yourself, which is like the container around the situation or the frame in which you're going to hold. So what are the behaviors I will execute before, during, and after this workshop to create the most optimal environment for myself? Here are examples of my behaviors to give you some inspiration and see how this works. So my first behavior, I'll have the entire workshop strategically and methodically planned and structured to provide the most impactful virtual experience that I can. I will ensure that all technology is working 2 hours before the workshop to make sure that I don't get stressed last minute, which is going to hijack my energetic state. I will challenge my body physically in the morning to supercharge my biology and amplify my life force. Because your ability to create impact in this world is determined by 2 things, your energy and your consciousness. Amplify your energy, amplify your consciousness, create greater impact. I'll take a cold plunge to further ignite my biology and ground myself. I'll meditate for a minimum of 30 minutes prior to the workshop to connect to my heart and clear my mind, allowing myself to be used as a vessel and channel into higher realms to offer divine guidance for those who need to receive specific messages in this workshop. I'll spend the morning focused on purifying my energy and amplifying my vibrational frequency to create magic moments. I hold the space throughout the entire workshop to facilitate a deeply transformational experience. environment. So this is, what is the optimal environmental state that you want to create for yourself in this situation? So what to achieve the result you want, it's also down to the environment in which you create, right? That is your reality. So when you're like, what is the optimal learning, for example, for you guys, what is the optimal learning environment that you can set up and create for yourself in this process? So this is kind of how it works. So for example, I always just to get clear, to set the intention, it's like, all right, I get clear on the date, whatever it is, where, virtual Zoom, and then I write down just like the kind of the energetic and focused state that I want everyone to be in when going through this learning experience. So for example, it's like no distractions, like no phones, no notifications, none of that shit. And then I want to be able to enhance flow state for you guys to enhance your learning experience. Good music vibes, fun, relaxed, tranquil, inspiring, and clear intent. Is this resonating? Cool. How'd you go with it? I just want to get a couple of shares of everyone's intent. So Reese, you don't have to like just share your intent, but what was the main thing that you got out of that process?
Definitely just getting intentful. Like I definitely allow myself to go into autopilot mode, and I really want to be intentful and like really ready to receive, because I know I could have definitely just walked through this and not really received, but I really want to hold myself to that higher standard and receive what I need to receive. Does that make sense?
Yep. This is the key. This is about basically achieving laser focus. But what does laser focus do? All a laser is a channeling of energy, right? The laser is light, and energy travels through light. That's what it is. It's being able to basically amplify your energy as much as possible, which is all about creating your intention for the state you want to hold. And then it's about breaking all of it down into like, well, how do I achieve an optimal state? What are the factors in like a logical path of thinking that I need to go through to achieve complete alignment? And that's where, all right, intention, purpose, and identity, and it goes all the way down. It stacks because everything basically is built onto the next layer. Cool. Thanks for the share. Sean, what did you get out of that?
I basically, my sort of energetic state that I wanted to embody during this whole workshop, given that was the question, was basically I wrote down full-blown, inquisitive, introspective sort of like mode of being, and then just having an unconditional love for my life. Because I guess at the end of the day, you know, to have any sort of, to give a fuck about any of this, you got to actually appreciate and love your life to such an extent to do this sort of thing. So that was, that's what I came up with.
Cool. That's awesome. And it's honestly like unconditional love is the highest energetic state you can adopt, because when you have unconditional love for yourself, those around you, your life, everyone in this group, when you emit that frequency, life actually just becomes exciting and fun, and you allow yourself to surrender into the present moment because you just are enjoying the now moment. You're not worried about the clients you have to follow up with like tonight or tomorrow. You're not worried about other external things outside of this bubble of reality, because what you're focusing on in this now moment creates all those situations of reality. So the more we get presently aware with deep intention, our life, you just wait and see. This will manifest like a lot of great things for you guys if you practice this and if you like implement it. Eric with a H, what did you get out of this? Just quick process.
So as a energetic state or intention, I wrote down depth. And why depth? Because when I have my flow state, or when I really am in deep meditation, that is the moment when I really feel that there's a lot of truth to that moment. When I'm around a busy environment, when there is like notifications, people asking me stuff here, there, family this, family that, I only have the feeling that's just the surface.
Yes.
So I want to be in an energetic state of depth where I can receive something that is really true. That is what I wrote down.
I love that. That definitely hit home for me. Because when you surrender, like the depth is surrendering fully into the present without distractions, without the busyness of everyday life. And that is why, honestly, these workshops can really be so powerful for you if you choose them to be so. Because obviously, like in my ideal setting, we would all be in person, but we just can't do that right now. And what this allows you to do is just cut out the outside noise for 2 days. Give yourself the space to just focus on you. Because when we look at the fundamentals of business, the first key pillar of business is your ability to lead, essentially. And your ability to lead is completely dependent upon your internal psychology. That is why today's workshop, while we're not going to get into advanced leadership training in this workshop, it's more about you in this 2-day workshop. And then there'll be additional like tools and resources that I'll be releasing next week for application into business leadership. This is the core stuff, because if you don't know what your mission is, if you don't know what your purpose is, if you don't know why you're here, if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, how the fuck can you lead anywhere else to go anywhere? Because you don't know where you're going yourself. See how much of a paradox this is when in business, typically the first thing we focus on is like, what are other people's problems? What are other people's needs? How do I create that? And then how do I market it and sell it? And, you know, that's it. But when you're obsessed about focusing on other people's problems without even first solving your own and mastering your own psychology, getting completely aligned with what you're here to do, then you're kind of just delaying the process in which you can drastically scale in and rise in the future. Because when you get these foundations right, it's okay, like to, obviously we keep executing on the daily things that we need to, and we fulfill our role there, but we really need to be obsessed about this stuff we're about to cover today, relentlessly. The more you analyze this stuff and continue to take this and run with it and build on it and make it your own in the future, like I'll show you the models that I use and the processes that I go through to analyze and reflect, but don't just stop there. Absorb it, tweak it, make it work for you. Because I've created this model around, hey, after all of my experience, this is what I've found really works best for me at this point in time in life. This is my process for being able to get complete clarity in every area of your life to assess and create a foundational place. Because if we were to just, for today, I'll tell you why we're going to get clear on the foundation. Because if we were to just basically run right into goal setting and getting like trying to achieve what our purpose is without knowing where we currently fucking are, we have no current coordinates to put into the map. The map has to know where you are, because it's in the knowing where you are in which you can start to create the road map to get what you want. So that's why so many people fail at like goal setting, because they just set the vision and the goal, but they're such fucking liars to themselves in where they currently are. And that's why it's so important to get, I call it the facts. And what we're going to go through are a series of fact maps. And what the fact maps are basically a detailed analysis and a series of questions that you're going to answer in each area of your life across mind, body, spirit, relationships, and business. Because as you know, I've spoken to most of you about this, like your psychology and your mind basically determines the quality of everything else in your life. Like you'll find that everything is interrelated. There is no one thing that is superior to another. It's all about how the entire ecosystem works. The ecosystem of your mind, body, spirit, relationships, and business. Because the more, like, your mind is basically measured by your level of consciousness and intelligence. And the greater your intelligence and consciousness, the greater, the better, and the higher quality decisions that you will make in your everyday life. And your current reality is determined by the decisions that you actually make in the lead up to what you currently have. So when we increase the quality of our decisions, we increase the quality of our reality. When we increase our body and enhance our energetic state, we also in turn enhance our level of consciousness. They're both interrelated. So that's why we need to work with our psychology. We need to work with our physiology. Then with spirit, that's a different type of energy. So we've got physiological energy and we've got spiritual or life force energy. And our ability to amplify this life force energy is determined by our spiritual and deep connection into the spiritual realms and to ourself. Because you can only amplify your physiological energy to a certain extent. You can do it, the things that contribute to your physiological energy are like your environment, your nutrition, your ability to recover and sleep well, to really, and your level of fitness. These things add to just the raw level of energy that you have within your biology. But there's another source of energy which no one really talks about. And that is your life force. That is your spiritual essence. The more connected you are to your deepest purpose in life, the more aware you are of yourself and the power that you have within, the more you are able to access energy and information from the higher quantum realms. The quantum energy, you literally learn how to amplify the energy that is in space, because energy is everywhere. Energy and consciousness are the fundamentals. It's the fabric of the universe. And when we approach and increase our level of understanding and acknowledge this, we know that, hey, there's a different source of energy that we can tap into. It's spiritual energy. It's spiritual source energy. And it is infinite. Have you guys seen, have any of you guys witnessed someone that has massive energy, up close and personal, someone like Tony Robbins? Have you witnessed something like this before, where you've come into contact with someone, you're just like, holy fuck, they are literally emitting so much energy right now, and I can literally feel it penetrating my entire body. Has anyone felt that or no? So if you haven't, it's a reality. And you can kind of look at guys like Tony Robbins or expert healers and look at their interaction and how their energetic field impacts those around them. And the stronger it is, the stronger basically energetic bubble you create, you can amplify other people's energies around you as well. So when you master your chi or life force, you tap into this enhanced energetic state where you can literally influence the people's energetic states around you, because the person with the strongest level of energy wins. And there's two paradoxes to this. Someone who's always negative, always complaining, always down, they're called energy vampires. They're on one extreme where they have such a low level frequency of energy because they're fully embodying all of the lowest level emotions of fear, guilt, shame, and anger, and judgment. And when someone's always thinking about those things, it dictates their energetic state. And when they're around other people, if other people do not have a strong, uplifting energy, they're going to get dragged down. That's why the classic quote is, you are the average of the 5 people you hang around. This is the why. It's not because you just mirror them. It's energy. Their energy entangles with yours. And this is why it's really important to be careful with who the fuck you come into contact with. Because if you aren't basically vibrating at the highest energetic frequency of like the mastery of unconditional love, because when you can vibrate at the frequencies of unconditional love all the time, that basically transcends you into mastery. That makes you a transcended master. That is the goal in this like earth experience. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to learn. That's what we're here to teach. And when you do that, your energy is not influenced by lower level energies because it's so high. It's vibrating at such a high frequency that someone who is like in pain, fear, guilt, shame, and anger, when you're around them emitting so much love and light energy, when you're emitting those frequencies, you pull them up. But if you're just like kind of at a middle playing ground where you're kind of in between, you are going to succumb to the lower level energies. So it's our ability to master our own energetic field so we're not influenced by other people's energies. And that's why it's so important to master the spiritual essence of life, because your energy literally dictates like everything else. And when we master our energetic state, we become more wise, more conscious, and we literally turn into superhumans. So that is how mind, body, spirit are connected. And then the fourth element of this that we'll get into is relationships. So I don't know what your current level of, I guess what your current beliefs and perceptions are around relationships right now, but there's a couple of elements. There's, you've got your family relationships, you've got your partner or spouse dating relationships, like intimate relationships, and then you've also got your social relationships. Now, when we are in the pursuit of trying to grow a business, often a lot of us as entrepreneurs, you're self-starters. You're very independent. And this can lead to quite a lot of isolation. Yes or no? Yes, many nods. And what can happen is when we're always isolated, and by the way, if you guys have questions throughout this entire experience, make sure just flag your hand, and then when I can, I'll get to you at the right point in time. So just to let you know, and you're welcome to jump in at any point in time. If you need additional clarity, if you want to contribute, that's totally cool. So when we are going through business, we have a couple of options. And I never used to believe this. I thought I could do everything alone. I thought that it was actually good to be isolated, introverted, and just doing your own thing. But then that got very painful at a certain point in time where I fell out of love with life because I was so absorbed and consumed in work. And I know many of you have experienced this as well, where you're grinding each and every fucking day. And it's hard enough when you are connected to your purpose to continue to execute on all the small details and the tasks required to achieve the purpose. Because even when you are aligned to your purpose, there's still an element of the grit and the grind that you have to fucking go through. That is the discipline of life. But it's much easier to get through those phases when you are aligned with your purpose. But if you're not aligned with your purpose, it's exponentially harder to get through the challenges of life because you don't have any spiritual energy to assist you and pull you through. And when you isolate and block yourself off from relationships, you can get caught up into negative spirals and feedback loops, and you can really start to question yourself and your own sanity. And I now truly believe that your quality of life is really determined by the quality of your relationships. And the most important one is really the relationship with yourself. Then there's the other three. There's your intimacy, there's your family, there's another one, your friends, and then also your social circle. So the way that we should really view things is like, all right, well, if we know that, there's other people out there in the world that are amazing humans doing big shit, inspiring shit. If we want to kind of like get more into the flow of life and to be able to leverage other people's work as well, their perceptions, their ideas, their insights, their knowledge, their wisdom, it would make sense to surround ourselves with those people. Because, for example, I've been on paths in my life where I will just be grinding, trying to solve a problem in my business and working on something. spending weeks and even months doing it. Fuck, even a year. I remembered working on something for, but then that was with no relationships. But then I started to like befriend and make buddies with a couple of like really good dudes who are really advanced in their field of expertise. And then it went from like me grinding all the time to me just like flicking them a quick message like, hey, do you know how to do this? And they're like, oh yeah. And then like just shoot you the entire thing. Like that's just one simple example of how you can amplify your results. Or it could be, hey, do you know this person? Can you introduce me to this person? Because you're only, you know, your network and your circle, you're only one contact away from the person that you need to be in touch with, really. One, maybe two max. And when you have greater exposure to people who are willing to help you, then your life accelerates at warp speed. Because now you're not only just having to rely on your own limited like time and energy, basically, and you're focused. You can only do so much. But when you find a way to be of value to others, to contribute to others, number one, it fulfills you by serving others and actually like making a contribution to the people you care about in your life. It gets you out of your own fucking mind and into the mentality of service to others. And when you do that, you build momentum. And then when it comes time where you need something as well, that person might be the key like connection for you that can save you years of fucking time and hardship. And in addition to that, when you build amazing connections, social circles, and when you truly align yourself with the people that are on the highest path, they accelerate your own growth too. Because then you don't, especially when you're going through this and what we're talking about here, especially on the spiritual side, you don't then think of yourself as a crazy fuck, which I have many, many times. And that is pretty isolating. And that can get pretty depressing if you allow yourself to spiral into that. But when you source like people who can uplift you and sort of really challenge you as well, when you're going through challenging times, when they can call you out on your own bullshit, that is the power of friendship groups. When you're there for each other, there is no conditions. It's like you both mutually, you know, just have like unconditional love for each other and you want to help all of your friendship circle out and you create that community. You're now cultivating a community that's going to last you a lifetime that you can continue to build upon. It's like your tribal unit, because it's hard enough to navigate life as it is, let alone by your fucking self. There's just no need for it. No matter how good we are, all of us, you know, we need connection. We're wired for connection. We need people to bounce off. We need help. And I'm all for like your own individual sovereignty. And we should all honestly have a default toward mastering ourselves. Because when we're trying to enter relationships from a place of need, that is the most repulsive thing that you can ever do or create in the relationship dynamic. You need to fill your own cup up first and find ways to be of value. And the greatest tool that I can, or like the greatest philosophy I can kind of give you around this is when you look at and focus on mastering every area of your life, you become a fucking weapon. You become an asset for everyone else in your life. When you can, while this is the hardest path to take, once you set the foundation of being able to actually start building momentum and making progress in every area across your mind, body, spirit, relationships, and business at the same fucking time, you just watch how attractive that becomes to others. They will look at you with two heads because they will not be able to understand or comprehend the work that you have done internally to get yourself to that point. You look at most entrepreneurs, they're good at business. Maybe they've been able to keep their health in check, but they've burned their relationships. They have no spiritual growth or connection. And their psychology is usually pretty fucked up too. There are a lot of coping entrepreneurs out there. They're just coping. They're getting by. They're struggling. I know it because I've seen it. I've spoken to thousands. And this is the reoccurring problem. So if we can help find and
Is it only me?
Did Rhett freeze for anyone else?
Yeah, he's frozen, I think, for everyone.
Yeah, he is for sure.
did I just freeze?
Yeah, you're
Yes.
back.
Yeah, just like 20 seconds, Rhett.
Okay, cool. So all I was saying is that there are a lot of coping entrepreneurs out there, and trying to master yourself, I call it the Renaissance man and woman. Have you guys heard of the Renaissance period and era? This was where so much innovation occurred. Now, why? Because there were groups of people who were willing to think anew and act anew. They were willing to go beyond the current social paradigm of how to live their fucking life. They were willing to break the rules, to be contrarians, to be mavericks. Like, who the fuck wants to be normal anyway? It's boring as batshit. Life is full of people who are addicted to mediocrity and safety and security. Like, fuck that shit. We're here for something bigger. We're here for something more. And in the Renaissance era, they were all about integrating all areas and aspects of their life, because in mastering each and every area, you gain greater learning and greater perspective that contributes to the whole. And you become a bigger and better person for it. And you're able to do more things. You're able to live life in a different way that is incomprehensible to your average folk. And I want to pre-frame that it's hard. So expect that. But you can also select the easier path too. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to always be a grind. When you view it and perceive it as fun, it will be fun. It's about falling in love with becoming better each and every day. Joel, you got a question?
Yeah, just like one thing I want to add here is like, when I started doing online business, my first goal was this passive income and automate everything. And then I ended up in a place where every customer was just an email in my database. And I lost the passion to what I was doing. And now I'm currently in totally different place where I'm just like focusing on doing a business where I want to be on video calls and I want to do one-on-one because I love it so much and I get to connect with people and I'm having fun. And also, like I said, before this workshop started on the chat, like, how the Red's quote spoke to me. Like, I have ditched, the traditional things I have thought, and I have, example, closed my last 3 calls. Why? I have gone on the call just, with this mindset, like, hey, this cool dude, I want to help him out. Let's diagnose his situation. Let's tell him what to do. And they have then asked, like, hey, Joel, what do you do? What is your price? How I can work with you? And it's exactly just building this relationship, building the network, and people will just start to find you. And it's so much more fulfilling than trying to just, get more customers on your program or something. And they are just emails on your database and you get nothing out of it. Yeah.
Like, thanks for the share, man. I really appreciate that. And it's insightful because business at the core level of it, you're just dealing with people. And when we get caught up in kind of following the trends and listening to all the gurus out there, we can kind of get caught up in, doing things for the wrong reason, in losing sight of what truly matters. We don't have to follow the models. You're bigger than the models. You're bigger than the frameworks. You're here for something unique. And here I want to lay a foundation that's worked for me. And then you can go and take that and adapt it and apply it in whatever capacity that you want in your life. That's totally up to you. I never want to make you to do anything. That's not why I'm here. It's to show you what's worked for me. And by doing so, I hope that it enhances your own awareness of yourself. Because at the end of the day, the more you enhance your awareness of yourself by digging into the questions we're about to get into, you become more aware, you become more wise, you can make better decisions, you can live a more fulfilled life where you're living on the edge. You're dancing with life. You're not dragging your feet anymore. That is honestly the most powerful thing, because when you do that, you influence and you allow others to do the same. And when we're all finally in love with life, when we're dancing through life, we heal the entire planet. We make this world a better place. How do we start? We master ourselves. We master our internal state, because everything is energy. So in the default, when we're going through difficult situations in life, if we can really master returning to the default of like, hey, I don't know how to approach this. I don't know what to do, but I have trust that I will find the answers and they will come to me, as long as I just internally focus on increasing my level of awareness and my energetic state. Because when you increase your energetic vibration, higher quality information and answers will come to you. And you will be at a frequency ready to receive those answers. Because whatever frequency you are vibrating at welcomes a specific frequency of information. The lower your vibration, the lower your frequency, the shittier information you're going to receive into your head. It's as simple as that. Think of it like a radio, but just think of it like each different station. Say you start at 80.0 FM. Think of that as like the shittiest fucking radio station there is, just full of advertising junk, just filling your mind up with garbage, fear, judgment, shame, making you feel guilty about everything. But then when you raise your frequency, you transcend the levels of consciousness. You keep on rising in your intelligence. Your mind and heart are now vibrating at a frequency that can receive information and wisdom from the higher realms. This is what Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein were famous for, but not actually famous, because very few people even understand that this is what they actually did to invent the things that they did in the world. Your mind does not create from nothing. Your mind basically receives insight and information from the quantum realm, from higher realms of intelligence. But you can only receive it when you're willing and able to tune in by enhancing your frequency. So when we understand that this is the foundation of like life itself, these are the key principles that will allow us to access greater information and intelligence, we can then start to optimize our life for that. So when we are facing difficult situations, we don't get stuck in that energetic and emotional state, because we know that, all right, well, as much as this fucking hurts, as much as I feel like shit right now, as much as I do not want to do what I know I need to do, I'm going to do it, because I have the discipline and the will to transcend and rise and master myself. When you do that, we get access to higher realms of information. When you get access to higher realms of information, your life takes off. You're playing a different game. You're playing the quantum game. You're not bound by these physical limitations and constructs in our 3D physical reality. You become limitless, because the universe is limitless. It's infinite. And it's about playing that infinite game, the quantum game of quantum expansion, where time does not exist. Anything is possible in any moment. But it literally just depends on our ability to enhance our energetic frequency, because we cannot create from low frequencies. When you're in a state of fear, your mind shuts off. It does not work. That's why you see so many people brainwashed in our modern society. Why? Because at least 50% of the population are stuck in the fear cycle. They're stuck in the victimhood. They're stuck in the feelings of feeling guilt and shame. They're basically projecting their insecurities on everyone else. They're not living as sovereign individuals. And remember, when I say these things, it's not coming from a place of judgment, because to judge is to reside in a lower frequency ourselves. It is merely just stating the facts of what is true. And in these fact maps that we're going to get into, That's all it is as well. It's just stating what is true. It's removing ourselves emotionally and disconnecting from the attachment of what we're feeling in the moment. Because when we allow ourselves to become too attached, we don't want to allow ourselves, when we reflect on our current reality and our current situation and just get raw and honest with our truth, we want it to liberate us and free us, not to like bind us with feelings of guilt and shame, regret, and frustration with where we are. We need to fully surrender to the acceptance of where we currently are. And in doing so, we reclaim our power because we get true to ourselves. Because when we lie and basically fabricate the reality of where we are, we're now living in a fucking illusion. It's bad enough that this world is an illusion as it is. We don't need to create our own additional illusions. We need to be okay with reality. We need to be okay with whatever is. Because when we can surrender to the moment and be presently aware and accept anything, it doesn't matter what happens in the external environment, because believe me, there's some more extreme shit coming. The pandemic's not just it. But don't be fearful. Like, it's all happening for the right reasons. We're all basically going through an awakening process where we're evolving to higher realms. Like, honestly, that's why we're here. And when we accept that, it's like, hey, all right, game on. I might not fully comprehend it intellectually right now because the mind takes a while to process this shit and wake up to these realities. But remember, there's no fear, guilt, shame, or judgment around where we currently are. It just, we're all on our own journey. So, does anyone have any questions before we get into the fact maps, which is basically get ready to write. So make sure you have a pen and paper, get ready to write. What I'm going to do is the reason why I want you to write is because when you write in a book, physically with pen and paper, your mind, it's basically a visceral and neurological connection to learning and memory. So when you physically write things out on paper, it's basically the process of mapping with your mind and the way you write, it allows you to accelerate your learning. So everything that you write down will stick to a greater extent instead of just like typing on a laptop. So the process for this, there are a lot of questions that we're going to go through, but just work through them, stay in the present moment when we're going through these things, and we'll take breaks as well and like reflect and kind of go back and forth with each other to compare notes on how everyone's going, what insights you're all coming up with. But then once we get through this first day, as I mentioned, the first day is all about getting just clear on the facts and the foundation of our current reality. Then tomorrow, we're going to get into building our entire future, like creating the underlying foundational philosophy, the new philosophy for our life in every area. And then we're also going to create a new vision, a new purpose and a strategy for every area of our life. But before we can even do that and think about that, I just want to keep things simple by getting clear. And I'll explain that entire process tomorrow when we come to it. But right now we just need to focus on, all right, let's just connect with what is real and we'll get through these series of questions. I've allowed for like us to run for another 6 hours, but it really just depends on how quickly we get through it, because it's not about the time. It's about just as long as we accomplish the work, then that's the main thing that matters. So if we finish it in 4 hours, done, cool. If it takes longer, we're just going to be here for it to make sure that we get through this, because this stuff is honestly the stuff that I've found very few are willing to do by themselves, because they're usually pulled to try and work on something that's going to get a quick result for them. But when we set this foundation, it's honestly going to be very fulfilling for you to reflect back on this. And by the way, this process I'm about to take you through, I do it personally every 3 months, every quarter. So this, while it may, like you may not feel like you have all the most amazing answers right now, that's okay, because your first one, I wanted to take you through this process live initially, because then you'll gain the insights and the skills, because full immersion really does help your learning curve, and it commits you to really putting your entire self into this process so you can know what it feels like and what it's meant to feel like when you go through it in the future. And then what I'm going to do after this workshop is I'm going to share you the software and templates that I personally use for this process with all of the questions preloaded in it. So then what I'd like you to do is write down all the answers today. Then next week or over the weekend, go and put the answers in and type them in. But I want you to write them down first to consolidate it in your nervous system. Then you go and apply it to store on your laptop and in the software in the future, so you can look back on it and continue to create new ones every 3 months. And then it is extremely rewarding to look back at these fact maps over time, over the span of 1 to 2 years, because when you do that, you will be so like shocked, because what you're doing is you're getting clear on your current psychology and thoughts and where you're at and where you view yourself at this point in time. And when you look back on it in a year, it's like the coolest thing you can reflect on. Because the more we continue to analyze our life in extreme depth, for example, like this every quarter, then we start to enhance our awareness. We can start to refine, all right, well, what's working for us? What's not? These are like, honestly, all of the key performance indicators that I've created in every area of your life. So then what we can literally do is like, you know, when it comes time to setting your goals and really devoting yourself to working on things to enhance your self-mastery, it's like, all right, well, instead of just picking something out of fucking thin air, it's like, well, here is my reality on my mindset, and here's all the components that go into my intelligence and my consciousness. And here is where I don't know anything about that, or I'm lacking in this. So if I work on that and amplify it, I'm going to basically create a more holistic and well-rounded approach in life. Make sense?